The grand hall of the Galactic Senate buzzed with the voices of 100 different species. Light from 3 suns streamed through the crystal dome above, casting rainbow patterns across the polished stone floor. In the center of the circular chamber stood a raised platform where the Senate Speaker, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms, called for order. The 743rd session of the Galactic Senate is now in session, announced Speaker Zorn, his voice amplified by the chamber's perfect acoustics. Before we address today's agenda, are there any preliminary matters to discuss? Senator Xylith rose from her seat, her translucent tendrils glowing with soft purple light. The Arcturian stood nearly 7 feet tall, and when she moved, the light played across her gelatinous form like distant lightning. Speaker Zorn, I wish to address the Assembly regarding a matter that has been delayed for far too long, she said, her voice melodic yet firm. Once again, I motion to permanently remove the Earth seat from this chamber. A murmur ran through the gathered representatives. Just left of the chamber's center sat an empty seat, unmarked and unused. For over 3 centuries, this seat had been reserved for the representatives of a small blue planet in a modest star system that had never responded to any invitation. The humans of Earth have ignored 17 formal invitations over 300 years, continued Xylith, her tendrils flashing brighter with her growing confidence. Their continued absence is not just an insult to this august body, but a waste of valuable Senate resources. Laughter rippled through the chamber as various alien representatives nodded in agreement. The Earth seat had become something of a joke among the elder species. Why do we keep a seat for primitives who probably still think faster than light travel is impossible? Called out Senator Draz of the Orion colonies, his scaled skin reflecting the light as he gestured dismissively. I've seen the observation reports. They waste their resources on fighting among themselves. They're centuries away from being worthy of joining us. Speaker Zorn raised a hand for silence. Ambassador Krell, you seem troubled by this discussion. The Proxima Federation has observation posts near the Sol system, do they not? Perhaps you have insights to share. All eyes turned to the far side of the chamber where Ambassador Krell sat. Unlike most representatives who dressed in elaborate ceremonial garments, Krell wore a simple gray uniform. His species resembled Earth's, octopuses, though he stood upright on 2 of his 8 limbs. The others currently folded across his chest in what those familiar with his kind recognized as a gesture of concern. Speaker, honored colleagues, Krell began, his voice low and measured. I advise caution in this matter. Our observation posts have noted irregularities in the Sol system. Irregularities? Xylith's tendrils flickered with amusement. Such as the fact that we can detect their radio signals and primitive satellite networks one day, and then find them mysteriously shielded the next, Krell replied. Such as unexplained energy signatures at the edge of their system that our scientists cannot identify, such as ships that appear on our scanners and then vanish without explanation. The chamber grew quiet. Ambassador Krell, Senator Draz said with a snort. Are you suggesting that these humans who haven't even colonized their own moon properly have technology that can evade our sensors? That's absurd. Krell's skin darkened slightly, a sign of irritation in his species. I am suggesting, Senator, that there are questions worth answering before we dismiss Earth entirely. Speaker Zorn tapped a long finger against his podium. While Ambassador Krell's concerns are noted, this body has waited long enough. We will put Senator Xylith's motion to a vote in 3 cycles. In the meantime, as a final courtesy, a delegation will be sent to Earth to extend one last invitation. If they refuse or ignore this final gesture, the seat will be removed. Xylith's tendrils glowed brightly in victory. I volunteer to lead this delegation, Speaker. My diplomatic skills are well known. So granted, Speaker Zorn announced, bringing the matter to a close. Thousands of light years away on a frontier colony planet called New Horizon, Jack Holloway sat on his porch watching the twin moons rise. At 52, his dark hair had gone mostly gray, and lines etched his face like a map of the battles he'd fought. 20 years in Earth's Navy had left its mark on his body, but it was the memories that weighed heaviest. The wooden chair creaked as he leaned back, nursing a glass of whiskey. The colony was peaceful tonight. Children played in the distance, their laughter carrying on the warm evening breeze. Farmers were bringing in their crops before the autumn rains came. No one here seemed to remember what day it was. Anniversary of the Battle of Tau Ceti. 15 years ago today. The day everything changed. Jack's comm unit buzzed on the small table beside him. He frowned. Not many people had his direct code anymore. He picked it up and checked the ID, Dr. Olivia Martinez. His frown deepened. He hadn't spoken to Olivia in almost 3 years, not since she'd taken that classified research position back in the Sol system. He tapped the screen to accept the call. Jack? Olivia's face appeared, her expression tense, though in her late 40s now her eyes still had the same intensity they'd had when they first met during the war. I'm sorry to call out of the blue. Olivia? He nodded. Must be important if you're breaking security protocols to reach me, directly. She glanced over her shoulder, then back at the camera. They've found us, Jack. The Senate is coming. Jack felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. He set his glass down, suddenly alert. How long do we have? Their ships were detected, crossing the outer marker yesterday. Earth Command is implementing disclosure protocol. They're reactivating select veterans. She paused. Including you. Jack closed his eyes briefly. 10 years of peace. 10 years of trying to forget. Gone in an instant. A transport will reach New Horizon in 3 days, Olivia continued. Jack, they don't know what they're walking into. The Senate has no idea what's out there, what we've been fighting, and they have no idea what we've become because of it, Jack added quietly. The comm unit beeped with an incoming official notification. His reactivation orders, no doubt. I'll see you soon, Jack, Olivia said softly before ending the call. Jack sat in silence as darkness fell completely. In the distance, the colony's perimeter lights came on automatically, a reminder of the barriers between this peaceful settlement and the dangers that lurked beyond. Dangers no one in the Galactic Senate could imagine. He finished his whiskey in one swallow and went inside to pack. The peaceful life he'd built here was over. It was time to be Commander Holloway again, time to remind the galaxy why Earth kept its distance. Senator Xylith stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Celestial Harmony as it approached the third planet of the Sol system. Her tendrils pulsed with excitement. This mission would secure her reputation in the Senate. She would be known as the one who finally resolved the Earth question. Remarkable, said her science officer, a slender Vexillian named Tarn. Such a small planet to host such biodiversity. The blue-green world filled their view screen, clouds swirling across its surface. Primitive satellites could be seen orbiting the planet, along with what appeared to be a small space station. Prepare the standard first contact package, Xylith instructed her communications team, though I doubt these humans will understand half of it. Senator, called the ship's captain, I'm detecting something strange. Xylith turned. What is it? The scanners are picking up something activating around the planet, the captain said, his scaled fingers moving rapidly over the control panel, some kind of defense grid that wasn't there a moment ago. Suddenly, the ship's systems flickered. Emergency lights came on briefly before the main power restored itself. What happened? Demanded Xylith. Unknown, replied the captain. It was like something scanned us. Very powerful. The communications console lit up. Senator, we're receiving a transmission from the planet. Put it through, ordered Xylith, straightening her ceremonial robes. This would be her historic moment. A human female appeared on the screen. She wore a dark blue uniform with silver insignia on the shoulders. Her hair was pulled back tightly, and her expression was calm, but stern. This is Admiral Susan Rogers of Earth Orbital Command, the human said. Your vessels have entered restricted space. State your intentions or withdraw immediately. Xylith stared in surprise. The human was speaking perfect galactic standard. This was unexpected. I am Senator Xylith of the Arcturian Collective representing the Galactic Senate, she replied, recovering quickly. We come in peace to extend an invitation to Earth to join our alliance of worlds. Admiral Rogers showed no reaction. We are aware of who you are, Senator. Your delegation will be permitted to land at our Geneva facility. Coordinates are being transmitted to your navigation system. Any deviation from the flight path will be considered hostile. The transmission ended abruptly. They knew who we were, Tarn said, blinking his 3 eyes rapidly. That's impossible. We haven't made contact before. Xylith's tendrils darkened slightly. It seems Ambassador Krell's concerns were justified. These humans are more than they appear. The Celestial. Harmony followed the designated path to Earth's surface. As they descended, they were escorted by 4 small but sleek Earth vessels that appeared out of nowhere. The ships were clearly military, with designs unlike anything in the Senate's database. They landed in a large complex surrounded by mountains. A greeting party waited for them on the landing pad, led by a tall human male with short gray hair and a face that showed little emotion. "Welcome to Earth," the man said as Xylith and her delegation disembarked. "I am General Alan Blackwood of Earth's Unified Defense Council. Please follow me." The delegation was led into a large building and through security measures that, while polite, were clearly thorough. Xylith noticed that the humans' technology was far more advanced than their observation reports had indicated. They entered a conference room where several humans waited. Admiral Rogers from the transmission was there, along with others in various uniforms and formal attire. "Senator Xylith," General Blackwood began once everyone was seated. "Let me introduce Director Nicole Franklin, Head of Earth Intelligence, and Dr. Benjamin Hayes, our Chief Xenobiologist." Xylith nodded to each in turn. "I must admit, General, we are surprised by your level of preparedness for our arrival." Director Franklin, a woman with dark skin and sharp eyes, smiled slightly. "We've been aware of the Galactic Senate for over, 300 years, Senator. We've monitored your communications and studied your species extensively." The delegation exchanged shocked glances. "If you knew about us," asked Tarn, "why did you never respond to our invitations?" "We chose isolation. For good reasons," replied General Blackwood. "Reasons we are now prepared to share with you." Meanwhile, on New Horizon, Jack Holloway boarded the military transport that had landed in the colony's small spaceport. The colony's residents had gathered to watch. Most knew Jack only as a quiet farmer who kept to himself. The sight of him, in an Earth Navy uniform with commander's insignia, caused quite a stir. As he approached the ship's ramp, his neighbor's 12-year-old daughter, Kate Miller, ran up to him. "Mr. Holloway," she called, slightly out of breath. "My dad says you're going to fight in a war, is that true?" Jack looked down at the girl with her bright eyes and freckled face. So innocent. So unaware of what existed beyond the protected borders of human space. "No, Kate," he said gently. "I'm just going to talk to some people who need my help understanding something." "Is it true you fought the monsters, Mr. Holloway?" Kate asked, lowering her voice to a whisper. "Billy's dad says you were there when the monsters came." Jack crouched, down to her level. "The swarm isn't a monster, Kate. They're just hungry, and we need to make sure they stay where they are." Kate looked confused. "What's a swarm?" "It's nothing you need to worry about," Jack assured her, standing up. "That's why people like me exist, so you don't have to worry about such things." The ship's engines began to power up, a low hum that vibrated through the ground. "I have to go now," Jack said. "Take care of your dad while I'm gone." As the transport lifted off, Jack looked down at the small colony growing smaller beneath him. New Horizon was one of the success stories, a thriving community built after the war. So many others had been lost. He made his way to the ship's small briefing room where Dr. Olivia Martinez waited for him. She looked tired with dark circles under her eyes. "Jack." She greeted him with a quick hug. "Thank you for coming." "Did I have a choice?" he asked, though there was no bitterness in his voice. "No," she admitted. "None of us do anymore." She gestured to a screen on the wall where a live feed showed the Galactic Senate delegation meeting with Earth officials. "How much are we telling them?" Jack asked. "Everything," Olivia replied. "The containment zone is failing, Jack. We've detected 3 breaches in the last month. The swarm is evolving faster than we can develop countermeasures." Jack felt cold dread settling in his stomach. The Senate doesn't have the military capacity to help us. No, Olivia agreed, but they need to know what's coming. And they need to understand that when Earth mobilizes fully, they shouldn't stand in our way. Jack stared at the screen, at the alien delegation who had no idea that their galaxy was about to change forever. How long do we have? He asked quietly. Olivia's reply was just as quiet. Not long enough. The lights dimmed in the Geneva conference room. Senator Xylith and her delegation sat in silence as a holographic display activated in the center of the table. A three-dimensional image of the galaxy appeared, with a small section near the outer rim highlighted in red. 200 years ago, General Blackwood began, humanity expanded beyond our solar system. We established colonies on 11 worlds. We were explorers, scientists, dreamers. His face hardened. Then we encountered the swarm. The hologram zoomed in on a star system labeled Tau Ceti. The image showed a planet being consumed by what looked like a moving cloud of tiny particles. We first discovered them on a small moon in the Tau Ceti system, continued Dr. Benjamin Hayes, the xenobiologist. At first, we thought they were just a local life form, microscopic organisms that moved together in a collective. Fascinating, but not threatening. The hologram changed to show laboratory images of small, insect-like creatures with metallic blue shells. We were wrong, Hayes said quietly. The individual organisms are simple, almost mindless, but together, they form a hive mind of remarkable intelligence. They consume all organic matter they encounter, breaking it down to fuel their reproduction. And they learn. They adapt to any countermeasure within days. Senator Xylith's tendrils had gone completely still, a sign of deep distress in her species. How widespread is this swarm? Director Franklin touched a control, and the hologram expanded to show a large section of space outlined in pulsing red. This is the current containment zone. We lost 11 colony worlds before we managed to halt their advance. Over 40 million human lives. Tarn, the science officer, leaned forward. Why didn't you seek help from the Senate? Our combined resources could have what? Admiral Rogers interrupted sharply. Your Senate includes species that have been at war with each other for centuries. Species that would have viewed the swarm as the perfect bioweapon against their enemies. That's absurd, protested Xylith. The Senate would never. We intercepted communications from the Draconian Imperium discussing exactly that possibility, said Director Franklin flatly, and from 3 other Senate members. We couldn't risk it. The hologram changed again, showing images of massive space battles. Earthships, sleek and deadly, firing weapons that seemed to bend space itself against swarming clouds of the tiny organisms that had grown to form massive, shifting structures. We unified overnight when we realized the threat, General Blackwood explained. Old nations, old conflicts, none of that mattered anymore. Earth became one government, one military. We poured all our resources into developing technology to fight the swarm. And you succeeded? Asked Tarn. Dr. Hayes shook his head. We contained them, but they're still there, still evolving, still trying to break through our defenses. In the Galactic Senate chamber, Ambassador Krell addressed his colleagues. The Earth delegation had returned to their planet to prepare for their first official Senate appearance, but had provided Krell with data to share with the full Senate. I have reviewed their military capabilities, Krell said gravely. His skin had turned a pale gray, reflecting his somber mood. Humanity has developed technologies far beyond our understanding, forged in desperation against this swarm. They don't need our protection. They've been protecting us. On the main view screen, images from Earth's war against the swarm played. The senators watched in stunned silence as human ships fought with weapons that could destroy entire moons, using tactics that seemed reckless but proved devastatingly effective. How could they develop such technology so quickly? Asked Senator Draz, his earlier mockery forgotten. Necessity, replied Krell simply. When faced with extinction, Humans appear to be capable of remarkable advancement. On the military transport heading back to Earth, Jack Holloway studied the latest swarm containment reports. The news wasn't good. The swarm had evolved again, developing a new type of drone that could survive in deep space without host bodies. Dr. Olivia Martinez entered the small cabin, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Jack and sat across from him. "How bad is it?" she asked. Jack looked up from the reports. "We've lost 3 outposts along the Epsilon line. The new drones are faster than our interceptors." Olivia sipped her coffee, her hand trembling slightly. "I've been working on something, Jack, a new approach." Jack raised an eyebrow. "I thought you were just here to brief the Senate delegation." "That's the official reason," she admitted. "But I've been developing a theory about the swarm's neural network. We've been fighting them like they're an army, but they're really one organism spread across billions of bodies." "What are you suggesting?" "I think I can disrupt their hive mind," Olivia said. "Not destroy it, but confuse it. Make it impossible for the separate parts to communicate." Jack set down his cup. "That would change everything. If they can't coordinate, they can't adapt." "Exactly," Olivia nodded. "But I need access to Earth's quantum computer network to run the simulations, and I need you to get me military approval." Jack stared at his old friend. They had been through hell together during the worst days of the war. If anyone could find a way to defeat the swarm once and for all, it was Olivia. "Consider it done," he said. Back in Geneva, Senator Xylith stood by the window of her guest quarters, looking out at the peaceful Earth landscape. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks covered with snow. It was hard to imagine that this serene world had been fighting a secret war for generations. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Xylith touched the communication panel. "Senator," came the urgent voice of her aide on the Celestial Harmony, still in orbit. "We've just received an emergency transmission from the Senate. Something has happened." Xylith felt her tendrils grow, cold. "What is it?" "The containment zone has been breached. A swarm vessel has been detected heading toward Proxima Centauri, a major Senate world." Before Xylith could respond, alarms began to sound throughout the Earth facility. Outside her window, she could see human military personnel running to their stations. The peaceful scene had transformed into organized chaos in seconds. Her door slid open and General Blackwood stood there, his face grim. "You've heard," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Xylith replied. "What happens now?" "Now," said Blackwood, "you see why the galaxy has good reason to fear Earth. Because what we're about to do will change everything." Throughout human space, hidden military bases suddenly became active. Ships that had remained dormant for years powered up their engines. Weapons platforms concealed in asteroid belts and nebulae came online. Earth was going to war again. And, this time, the entire galaxy would witness what humanity was capable of when truly threatened. Panic spread through the Galactic Senate as the news of the swarm breach reached them. The great chamber, usually filled with orderly debate, now echoed with shouted questions and fearful cries. "Order," demanded Speaker Zorn, his forearms raised. "We must maintain order." A large screen displayed the swarm vessel's path. It moved faster than any Senate ship, heading directly toward the Proxima Centauri system, home to over 8 billion citizens of various species. Senator Draz, once so dismissive of Earth, now looked pale and shaken. "What defenses do we have against this threat? Can our fleets intercept it?" Ambassador Krell shook his head slowly. "Our weapons were not designed to combat this enemy. Based on the data Earth provided, standard energy weapons are ineffective against the swarm's adaptive shielding. Then we evacuate," declared another senator. "We must begin immediately." "There isn't time," Krell replied grimly. "The swarm vessel will reach Proxima Centauri in less than 2 days. Even with all our ships, we could only evacuate a small percentage of the population." A hush fell over the chamber. Billions of lives hung in the balance. "Earth," someone whispered. "Earth has been fighting them. Earth knows how." All eyes turned to the Earth seat, still empty, as the human delegates had not yet formally joined the Senate. Speaker Zorn touched a control panel on his podium. I am sending an emergency request to Earth for immediate military assistance. On E. The bridge of the EDF Relentless, Commander Jack Holloway stood before a holographic display of the Arcturus sector. Red dots indicated the positions of Senate defensive ships. A single pulsing blue light showed the swarm vessel's location. Status report, Jack ordered, his voice calm despite the tension visible in his posture. Strike Force Alpha is assembled, sir, replied his first officer, Lieutenant Lisa Winters. 47 ships, all reporting combat ready. Jack nodded. And the Senate forces? They've positioned 73 vessels along a defensive line at Arcturus Gap, Lisa said. But their weapons won't be effective. Admiral Rogers appeared on the main view screen. Commander Holloway, you have your orders. Protocol firebreak is now in effect. Understood, Admiral. Jack turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to all ships in the strike force. The young officer nodded. Channel open, sir. Jack squared his shoulders. All ships, this is Strike Force Alpha. Protocol firebreak is in effect. No retreat, no surrender. Earth has held the line against the swarm for 2 centuries. Today we say hold it for the galaxy. He paused, looking around at his crew. Some were veterans like him, their faces showing the same grim determination. Others were younger, serving their first combat mission, fear visible in their eyes. The Senate ships will maintain position at the secondary containment line, Jack continued. We will engage the enemy alone. On Earth, General Blackwood led Senator Xylith and her delegation to a secure underground command center. Dozens of humans worked at control stations around a massive holographic display of the Arcturus sector. This isn't about pride, Senator, Blackwood explained as Xylith questioned why Earth had refused the Senate's offer of military support. Your ships aren't equipped for this fight. They would be destroyed in seconds. Then what hope does Earth have? Asked Tarn. Instead of answering, Blackwood gestured to the display. Watch. The Earth strike force appeared as green triangles, moving into formation. The swarm vessel, a shifting mass of blue light, continued its relentless path toward Proxima Centauri. Activate the quantum comlink, ordered Blackwood. Full holographic feed to the Senate chamber. In the Senate, the central area cleared and a detailed hologram appeared, showing the impending battle in real time. Billions across the galaxy watched as the human ships moved with impossible precision. Those vessels are barely half the size of our cruisers, observed Senator Draz. How can they hope to? His words died as the Earth ships suddenly accelerated to speeds no Senate vessel could achieve. They separated into 5 distinct groups, executing a complex maneuver that surrounded the swarm vessel. The first shots were fired. Beams of energy unlike anything the Senate had seen before lanced from the human ships. Where they struck the swarm vessel, space itself seemed to warp and distort. Quantum disruptors, explained Director Franklin to the Earth delegation. They target the molecular bonds of the swarm organisms. Each shot kills millions of them. The battle unfolded with a speed and precision that left the watching Senate members speechless. Human ships moved as if they could predict the swarm's responses, always one step ahead. In her laboratory on Earth, Dr. Olivia Martinez worked frantically, surrounded by complex equipment. Ryan Cooper, her young assistant, watched nervously as she programmed a sequence into the main computer. Will it work? He asked. It has to, Olivia replied, not looking up. The strike force can contain this vessel, but my analysis shows 3 more breaches forming in the containment zone. We can't fight them all. On the Relentless, Jack winced as a nearby Earth ship exploded, torn apart by a tendril of the swarm. Vessel. Evasive pattern Delta, he ordered. Focus fire on Sector 7. The strike force responded immediately, shifting their attack to a new area of the swarm vessel. For a moment, it seemed to work. The enormous mass of organisms began to break apart. Then it reformed, stronger than before. Sir, reported Lieutenant Winters, our weapons are becoming less effective. The swarm is adapting to the quantum frequency. Jack clenched his jaw. This was how it always went with the swarm. No matter what humanity threw at them, they learned, adapted, evolved. Adjust to secondary frequencies, he ordered. Maintain attack pattern. His communication console lit up. "Commander," said the comm officer. "Incoming transmission from Earth. It's Dr. Martinez." Jack felt a flicker of hope. "Put her through." Olivia's face appeared on his screen. She looked exhausted but excited. "Jack, I've done it. The neural disruptor is ready for testing." "How does it work?" Jack asked, even as he issued new orders to his strike force. "It generates a quantum field that mimics the swarm's own neural patterns but with subtle contradictions," Olivia explained. "When they try to process the signals, it creates confusion in the hive mind. They won't be able to coordinate." "How do we deploy it?" "I'm transmitting the specs now. It needs to be delivered to the center of the swarm vessel. The device is small, but someone will need to get it there." Jack understood what she wasn't saying. This would be a one-way mission. "Send the data," he said quietly. "I'll handle the delivery." Throughout the galaxy, all eyes remained fixed on the battle. The Senate watched in awe as human ships performed maneuvers that defied conventional physics. They witnessed weapons that bent space-time and saw the level of coordination that seemed almost telepathic. "They fight like they've done this 1,000 times," whispered Senator Xylith. "They have," replied General Blackwood. "For 200 years, while the galaxy slept peacefully, humanity has stood guard against the darkness. The Battle of Arcturus Gap would be remembered for centuries to come." Jack Holloway stood on the bridge of the Relentless, watching as his strike force fought with everything they had. 6 Earth ships had already been lost, their crews giving their lives to hold the line. "Sir, the neural disruptor is ready," reported Lieutenant Winters. She held a small device no larger than a human hand. It pulsed with a soft blue light. Jack took it from her. "Thank you, Lieutenant. You have command of the Relentless now." A hush fell over the bridge. Everyone understood what their commander was about to do. "Sir," Winters began, her voice tight with emotion. "There must be another way." Jack shook his head. "The disruptor has to be placed at the center of the swarm organism. Only a manned craft can get through their defenses." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "The needs of the many, Lieutenant. Always." In the small hangar bay, Jack climbed into a one-person fighter craft. The neural disruptor was secured in a special compartment designed to protect it until the moment of delivery. He ran through the pre-flight checks with the calm efficiency of a veteran pilot. "Commander," came Olivia's voice over his comm, "the disruptor is calibrated to activate 10 seconds after you reach the center of the swarm mass. You'll need to—" "I know, Olivia," Jack interrupted gently. "No time to get clear." "I understand." A moment of silence passed between the old friends. "It's been an honor, Jack," Olivia finally said, her voice breaking slightly. Jack smiled as he sealed his flight helmet. "The honor was mine." The tiny fighter launched from the Relentless, immediately accelerating toward the massive swarm vessel. Jack's hands moved over the controls with practiced ease, guiding the ship through the chaos of battle. "All ships, this is Commander Holloway," he broadcast to the strike force. "Execute Pattern Omega. Give me a path to the target." The Earth fleet responded instantly, concentrating their fire to create a corridor through the swarm's defenses. Jack's fighter raced through the opening, dodging tendrils of the organism that lashed out at him. In the Senate chamber, representatives of 100 worlds watched in stunned silence. The holographic display showed the tiny human fighter diving deeper into the heart of the enemy. "What is that pilot doing?" asked Senator Draz. Ambassador Krell, understanding dawning on his features, replied softly, "Making a sacrifice." On Earth, in the command center, Senator Xylith watched with her tendrils perfectly still. "Your commander," she said to General Blackwood. "He's not planning to return, is he?" "No," Blackwood answered simply. "Jack Holloway is one of Earth's finest. He knows what's at stake." Jack's fighter took hit after hit as it penetrated deeper into the swarm. Warning lights flashed across his control panel, but he ignored them. All that mattered was reaching the target. 90 seconds to impact, he reported calmly. On his sensors, he could see the center of the swarm organism, a pulsing core where the hive mind coordinated its billions of parts. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, like the eye of a hurricane. 60 seconds. Jack thought of New Horizon, of little Kate Miller and her innocent questions about monsters. He thought of all the worlds that would never know how close they had come to extinction. It was enough. It had to be enough. 30 seconds. His ship shuddered as more swarm drones attacked it. Hull integrity was failing. Life support was damaged. None of it mattered now. 10 seconds to impact. Jack closed his eyes briefly. For Earth. For all of us. The fighter slammed into the core of the swarm vessel. There was a moment of resistance, then penetration. Jack's hand moved to the release mechanism for the neural disruptor. Device deployed, he reported. Activation in 10 seconds. In those final moments as the countdown ticked away, Jack Holloway smiled. The view from his shattered cockpit showed him the beauty of space, stars shining against the darkness. It was worth protecting. 3, 2, 1. The neural disruptor activated. There was no explosion, no dramatic blast. Instead, a pulse of energy spread outward from the core of the swarm vessel. To observers, it appeared as if a ripple passed through the enormous organism. Then, chaos. The swarm, once moving with terrible purpose and coordination, began to fragment. Segments attacked each other. Parts tried to flee in different directions. The hive mind that had guided them was thrown into confusion, unable to coordinate its billions of parts. "It's working," cried Olivia in her lab on Earth. "The neural patterns are disrupting. The swarm can't maintain cohesion." The Earth fleet pressed their advantage. Quantum disruptors fired relentlessly, tearing apart the confused organism piece by piece. Within an hour, what remained of the swarm vessel was drifting lifeless debris. The Battle of Arcturus Gap was over. Earth had won, but at a terrible cost. 3 days later, the Earth delegation entered the Galactic Senate chamber for the first time. General Blackwood led the group, with Admiral Rogers, Director Franklin, and Dr. Olivia Martinez following. They wore formal black uniforms with silver Earth insignia. The chamber, usually filled with the noise of hundreds of representatives, was completely silent as the humans walked to the center of the room. Speaker Zorn stood. "Honored representatives of Earth, the Galactic Senate welcomes you at last. Your seat," he gestured to the once mocked empty chair, "has been moved to the position of highest honor." Indeed, the Earth seat now occupied a space at the front of the chamber, signifying its importance to the galaxy. Senator Xylith rose from her place. Her tendrils glowed with a solemn blue light as she addressed the chamber. "We mocked what we did not understand," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the room. "Earth did not abandon the galaxy. They stood guard at the darkness, between stars, fighting a war we never knew existed, paying a price in blood so that we might sleep peacefully." Murmurs of agreement rose from the assembled senators. "The swarm has been contained once more," announced General Blackwood, "but not destroyed. The neural disruptor has bought us time to develop more permanent solutions. And now, Earth asks for the Senate's help in this fight." Krell moved forward. "You have it, all of it, whatever Earth requires." Olivia stepped up beside Blackwood. "With our combined knowledge and resources, we can develop technologies to permanently neutralize the swarm threat. Commander Holloway's sacrifice will not have been in vain." At the mention of Jack's name, the entire Senate rose to their feet in a gesture of respect. A moment of silence followed, honoring the human who had given his life for people who had once mocked his world. As the Earth delegation took their seat, Director Franklin leaned close to Olivia. "Jack would have hated all this ceremony," she whispered. Olivia smiled sadly. "Yes, but he would have loved being right. He always said that someday the galaxy would understand why Earth kept its distance." "And now they do," replied Franklin. "They understand exactly why Earth is feared." On New Horizon, a memorial service was held for Commander Jack Holloway. The entire colony gathered to honor him. Kate Miller placed a small handmade wreath before his picture. "Was Mr. Holloway a hero?" she asked her father. "Yes, he answered, looking up at the stars now visible in the evening sky. One of many from Earth. They protect us all, even when we don't know we need protecting. Humanity had finally taken its place in the Galactic Senate, not as newcomers or supplicants, but as guardians who had earned their fear and respect. The empty seat would never be mocked again.